Another volcanic ash cloud is heading our way. Parts of British airspace could be shut from tomorrow until at least Tuesday. More violence on the streets of Bangkok as the crisis in Thailand deepens.
It's amazing how chaotic it's become down here. The protesters setting fire to tyres, provoking the military. We're just a short distance away.
Testing brotherly love, Ed Miliband confirms he will run for the Labour leadership against David. And Chelsea clinched the double after beating Portsmouth in the FA Cup final at Wembley. A very good evening to you. Air passengers are being warned to brace themselves for more cancellations and delays because of Iceland's volcanic ash cloud. The Department for Transport says the disruption could last until Tuesday and is likely to affect both Heathrow and Gatwick airports, among others. As Joe Lynam reports, it all depends on the weather.
Just when you thought it was safe to take to the skies again, the ash is back. The latest forecasts from the Met Office and the Department for Transport seem to suggest that parts of the UK, including the very busy southeast, are likely to be closed between Sunday and Tuesday.
Well, the ash cloud never went away. The ash cloud has been coming out of the volcano all this time at more or less the same amount. The wind has brought it back, so it's the wind that's changed, not the volcano.
If planes are grounded, it could heap even more misery on weary passengers, thousands of whom took days to get back from the last ash shutdown. That cancelled 100,000 flights around Europe, stranded 8 million passengers and cost the airlines £1.3 billion between them. Now they want a better warning system.
At the moment, there is no way of tracking ash except in the very intense part of the plume near the volcano. Satellites can't see it. It can only be tracked by mathematical modelling, and although it's fairly accurate, it's not accurate enough.
And this is the man who will ultimately decide whether it's safe to fly. The new Transport Secretary, Philip Hammond, as well as the Civil Aviation Authority. Many had accused them of being overcautious last time in grounding planes. The airlines were privately livid a month ago because EU rules said that they had to foot the bill to get passengers home after a stoppage which they could never have prevented. Changes were promised, but nothing has happened yet. And so the airlines and passengers hope that the wind must blow in their favour over the next 2 days. And the no-frills airline Ryanair was fined £2.6 million today for not helping stranded passengers in Italy. We may not even be at the halfway mark yet, but already 2010 is shaping up to be a year to forget for both airlines and air passengers.
And Joe's here now. And not great for passengers who not only have to deal with this, but also the BA strike.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes on that BA strike, which is due to begin on Tuesday. Now, on Monday, ACAS, the conciliation service, now they're chairing talks between both sides, hoping to knock heads together. Before that meeting on Monday, the Transport Secretary, the new Transport Secretary, Philip Hammond, he'll be meeting both sides separately, Willie Walsh from BA and, of course, Tony Woodley from the airline. But at the same time, the lawyers from BA will be in the High Court. They're hoping to get an injunction to prevent the strike from going ahead at all. They say that the union didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's when the ballot was took place in February, and they hope to turn that over. The union, of course, deny that, but one gets a sense for BA customers that if the ash doesn't get them, the strike might.
OK, Joe, thank you. Joe Lynam there. The Thai Prime Minister says the security forces will press on with plans to end an increasingly violent protest in Bangkok. At least 24 people have been killed during street battles with the army since Thursday. Some people may find the images in Alistair Leithead's report distressing.
Welcome to Bangkok. They call it the land of smiles. But there's a lot of unhappiness in this country. And for another day, it was pouring out on the streets of the capital. The troops are trying to break up anti-government protests, which have already lasted weeks, firing shotgun pellets at anyone who came too close. They're just a few hundred metres apart. A short but dangerous dash down the main highway, the mob were not being deterred. using what they had to take on the army. It's amazing how chaotic it's become down here. The protesters setting fire to tyres, provoking the military. We're just a short distance away. Those are bangers going off, but the military have been shooting at the protesters here. It shows just how deeply divided Thailand's become. This anger's been simmering for years. A hatred from the poor against the rich, stirred up by a corrupt former Prime Minister. Inside the protest camp, they're not all angry young men. These ladies have been here 2 months. I've come to fight for democracy, she says, so I'll fight. Tonight, the Prime Minister said his actions were in the best interests of peace and that troops fired only in self-defence. But passers-by are getting caught up in it. They suspect snipers. The army called this street a live fire zone.
They're shooting sniper from the on top this hotel, and 3 people die.
There have been more deaths and injuries today in isolated flashpoints. It's still very volatile here. Forcing protesters to move could slip this country further into chaos. Alistair Leithead, BBC News, Bangkok.
The former Energy Secretary Ed Miliband has confirmed that he will stand in the Labour leadership contest against his brother David. Ed Balls, the former school secretary, is also expected to run but says he won't rush the decision. Here's our political correspondent Reeta Chakrabarti.
Hi, Sandra.
Smiles and a handshake as Ed Miliband arrived to announce that he was the second Miliband to throw his hat into the ring for the Labour leadership.
My message to the British people is we will learn from our mistakes. We will be part of your values again. We will be part of your community again.
He criticised aspects of the government to which he had belonged. It had misjudged on immigration and lost trust catastrophically over Iraq. Older brother David made his leadership announcement 3 days ago, surrounded by supporters.
There's now a vacancy for the leadership of the Labour Party, and there will be an election for that post. I will be a candidate in that election.
David Miliband is thought to be the front runner. Aged 44, he was Foreign Secretary in the last government and is a former advisor to Tony Blair. Brother Ed went to the same Oxford College and took the same degree. He's 40, a former cabinet minister and used to be advisor to Gordon Brown. Will another Gordon Brown ally stop this race from being purely a family affair? Ed Balls, out in his constituency, was being coy.
I'm going to think hard, talk to my party here in Morley and Outwood, talk to MPs. I'm not going to rush to a quick decision. I think it's really important this leadership election is done in a unified way, but we've got to look outward.
So, despite the campaigning feel of his Saturday outing, no decision yet. Other possible contenders are Andy Burnham, the former Health Secretary, and John Cruddas, a left-wing backbencher. A potentially wide field. At least the Miliband's mother knows who she's supporting.
That her candidate for the Labour leadership will be John Cruddas.
Reeta Chakrabarti, BBC News.
A woman has been charged with the attempted murder of Labour MP Stephen Timms. Roshanara Chowdhury stabbed Mr Timms during a constituency meeting in East London yesterday. He's said to be recovering well following surgery. The 21-year-old will appear before magistrates on Monday. The Ulster Unionist leader, Surrej MP, has announced he's to stand down within the next few months. His party failed to win any seats in the general election. Following a meeting of his party's executive, Surrej said he would be working to help